Well, hello, Shaw viewers, and it's so great to be with you again. You know, I really did miss you over the summer, and I hope you've had a fantastic summer. So this morning, we're shooting downtown, and I am with Deputy Mayor Diane Weinches this morning. So nice to have Diane
Good morning, everyone.
with me. And we're here at Caballo Blanco. And for those of you that might not know it, Caballo Blanco is simply white horse in English. It's a wonderful Spanish restaurant, very cultural, very delicious. Come on down into the downtown and check it out. So we're just glad to be with you this morning and looking forward to your questions.
So at Monday's council meeting, council approved first reading on the revisions to Timber Ridge Neighbor Area Structure Plan that originally came to council in March 2022. Mayor Johnston, why did this application come back to council?
Well, the Timber Ridge Major Area Structure Plan came back to council after the public hearing on March 29th. Council was not resolved around several issues. One was green space, the other was traffic and intersections and so on. So we had a lot of public input from the residents there saying, we need to see some revisions there because we don't really see this development as being beneficial for the community. So council put a pause on that particular item. It came back to council yesterday, and it came back after a tremendous amount of work by the developer and the neighborhood and our administration to address those concerns. So we have a situation right now where we are reopening that development as a result of the feedback that we got. So it was a terrific exercise.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Diane, what is the next step in the process?
Well, council always wants to get it right. So our next step is hearing from the public in a public hearing. And if you cannot attend a public hearing, the letters and telephone calls that we receive are also weighted in terms of how we make our decisions. So always welcoming that feedback from the citizens when we make any decision, but specifically on this upcoming one on the timberlands.
So Councillor Lee brought forward a notice of motion in relation to telecommunications in the northeast area of our community that impacts neighborhoods like Timberlands, Clearview Ridge, Garden Heights, and Rosedale. Councillor Diane, can you speak to the issues that brought Councillor Lee to bring forward this notice of motion?
I was impressed with Councillor Lee's notice of motion because for all of the citizens who, whether if you reside or drive in that area of Clearview, you have a lost call. And nothing can be more frustrating. And Councillor Lee yesterday shared a conversation he had with a citizen who talked about a fire that they had and the concerns that they had getting that emergency service. So certainly we're pleased with the resolution. We're pleased with administration's work to date with the telecommunication and other telecommunications companies to be able to bring new cellular service towers in that area. And the conversations also evolved around our planning and important conversations with the federal government because this is federal government communications and it's important that council has that in our planning. Those conversations continue so we're up to date in terms of our infrastructure. We talk about communications, how necessary it is and how many people are losing their landlines. So really having telecommunications service in those areas and in new areas is critical for our community.
Mayor Ken, what did you ask of administration to bring back in 8 weeks?
Well, what we asked administration to do over the next 8 weeks is take a look at how the whole matter of telecommunications is planned into residential developments across the city. That was one of the big asks of our administration yesterday. So one of the things that we're expecting now when administration comes back is a broader approach, I think, to how towers are constructed, how that infrastructure is done, even though it's federal jurisdiction and the city does not play really an active role, but it will show that, and I appreciate Councillor or Deputy Mayor Weinch's comments around Councillor Lee's motion. The motion had the effect of elevating the whole issue of telecommunications into our development conversation. So when admin comes back in 8 weeks, we'll have their perspective on it. And then as decision makers, as the elected decision makers, we'll be more equipped to be able to answer residents' questions around how that's planned in neighborhoods. So it's awesome. And I'm expecting probably the end of October, first part of November, admin will bring that back to council.
There was an item in the closed portion of your meeting last night relating to the site selection of the future shelter in Red Deer. Deputy Mayor Diane, can you provide an update as to where council is at in the process of selecting a site to recommend to the province?
Council has been very busy the past few months in terms of working on a site selection for the future permanent integrated shelter in Red Deer. And yesterday was another example of our closed meeting, but I have to say that I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling comfortable with all the public information that we received through the dialogue sessions with our community about the shelter location. I'm feeling satisfied in terms of the recommendations in the matrix that council has done and how we measure which site selections will be determined, and we're narrowing that down. So stay tuned for that. And the important piece is that we're making a permanent footprint in our community. So council is taking this very seriously with all the information and feedback we received. So stay tuned, and we look forward to making that decision hopefully in September. Now, we talked about yesterday whether we want to have more information after we review the next sites, but ultimately we want to make sure we get it right. So September 12th is our goal, but if we don't get that, please bear with us because we want to get it right for this permanent integrated shelter in Red Deer.
Okay, and Mayor, when can the public expect to hear more about the actual sites being discussed?
Well, great question. As Deputy Mayor Wyches was saying, you know, we're driving towards the 12th of September as the decision date. And then depending on a couple of factors after that, one, of course, is provincial ratifying of our decision, which we're quite confident that will happen. In fact, one of the resolutions that we passed in council yesterday was to contact the province now and begin those conversations, not wait till after, say, the 12th of September, get into them now. So that's one thing that would impact it. The other, of course, is if it's a private site, and you have to negotiate pricing and occupation dates and all of those things. These are private matters that are conducted with a seller, for example. So that also factors into how we can come forward with the actual site being public, so that we're being true to that process. So my sense is that. Again, and well expressed by Deputy Mayor Wyches, that council will arrive at a decision in September, and hopefully we can either go public straight away with that, depending on how the nature of it, and again, the province and so forth, or shortly after, depending on negotiations with a private seller or leaser, as the case may be.
Mayor and Deputy Mayor, is there anything else that you wanted to share coming out of council yesterday?
Yeah, you know, I started council yesterday. You know, we call it points of interest. It typically opens a council meeting. Councilors have an opportunity to share what we've done in the community and so on. One of the things I talked about was an event that I attended, and it was a Big Brothers Big Sisters event. It was a bit of a fundraiser down on Riverside Drive. And I learned there that there were 70 kids, 70 young people waiting for mentors, waiting for that big brother, big sister kind of thing. You know, and so the message I have, I guess, from council, or I gave to council yesterday, was, you know, how precious volunteers are in our community, how they build our community, and the opportunities for volunteers. So stay tuned. Shaw viewers, you know, the old mayor will have more to say about volunteerism over the next little while, but that's something I wanted to share from yesterday.
Thank you, Mayor Ken. And, you know, if Red Deer looks back on our experience at the Canada Winter Games and even years prior, one of the things we pride ourselves in is volunteerism. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but if you have some extra time on your hands, just as Mayor Ken said, those youth in our community, there's lots of agencies who would welcome helping hands. Let's give our hands and hearts out there, Red Deer, and volunteer and continue to live up to that reputation. We can do it, and our volunteer capacity. Well, Red Deer, it's September, and I'm reminded of my good old school days. So a shout out to all the parents, the students, the educators, the school custodians, the teachers' aide, all those involved in school time. Shout out to them, and a reminder of the playground and school zones. None of us want to get a ticket, and none of us want an incident. So thanks for being safe out there. And always a pleasure. We've got still hopefully lots of summer left, good weather. Come on down to downtown. We're, as Mayor said, we're here at Cabello, and there's many other restaurants and opportunities to walk around. I look across and see our City Hall Park. The flowers are a little bit fading, but you know what? Our park is a great place to be. And drop into our public library too if you haven't had an opportunity to check it out. Lots of reading opportunities and things to learn. Thank you, Red Deer.